In 2009, the Clippers made a pick that would go on to change the trajectory of the organization and would end up being the best decision in franchise history. But what if I told you that this man that missed his entire rookie season would eventually have an impact that no one could have seen coming? Blake Griffin is the most important player in Clippers history, and I'm here to tell you how he saved the franchise that was considered to be the biggest joke in the NBA and in professional sports. But first, I have to take you back to where it all started, a very unfortunate organization beginning. The franchise was founded in 1970 as the Buffalo Braves and were led by NBA Hall of Famer Bob McAdoo. The team reached the playoffs 3 out of 8 years in Buffalo before they relocated to California and became known as the San Diego Clippers in 1978. San Diego brought the Clippers no success as they missed the playoffs all 6 years that they played there. The Clippers unexpectedly were on the move again, as in 1984 the infamous Donald Sterling relocated the Clippers to Los Angeles without approval from the NBA, and Sterling ended up winning a legal battle between himself and the league, and the franchise stayed in LA. In the Clippers' first 27 years in Los Angeles, they made the playoffs just 4 times and won a single playoff series. They were considered to be one of the worst franchises in American professional sports, and it didn't exactly help that they shared the city with the successful Lakers. But during the 2009 NBA draft, they selected a 6'10" power forward out of the University of Oklahoma named Blake Griffin that would do the unthinkable and turn the entire franchise around.
The Los Angeles Clippers select Blake Griffin.
Unfortunately, Blake did not play at all during the 2009-10 season, as he injured his left kneecap during the team's final preseason game, and after multiple setbacks, he ended up having season-ending knee surgery in January, meaning that he wouldn't make his NBA debut until the fall. And the Clippers finished the 2009-10 season with a 29-53 record, which left them in 3rd place in the Pacific Division, 28 games back behind second, and obviously missed the playoffs. Moving into the fall of 2010, the Clippers would finally have Blake Griffin, and his impact was instant. In his NBA debut, he put up 20 points and 14 rebounds against the Portland Trail Blazers, and he never looked back. Blake Griffin was selected to be a Western Conference All-Star in technically his rookie season, and he also participated in the 2011 dunk contest, which he won by jumping over a Kia in the final round. Blake had a phenomenal rookie season, where he averaged 22.5 points, 12.1 rebounds, and 3.8 assists. He ended up winning the 2011 NBA Rookie of the Year award, and was one of the only few players to win it unanimously. The Clippers once again missed the playoffs though, as they finished just 32-50. Moving into the 2011 offseason, the New Orleans Hornets feared that superstar Chris Paul would soon leave the franchise in free agency, so they began to explore trade options for him. And in early December, the Hornets agreed to a 3-team trade that would send Chris Paul to the Lakers, but the NBA itself owned the Hornets at the time, and Commissioner David Stern vetoed the trade, as he believed that the Hornets could actually get a better package in return in another deal. And just 2 days later, Chris Paul was sent to Los Angeles, but to the Clippers, not the Lakers. The full trade details include Paul and 2 future second-round picks to LA, and the Clippers sent Eric Gordon, Chris Kaman, El Farouq Aminu, and the Timberwolves' 2012 unprotected first-round pick to New Orleans. Blake Griffin helped make this trade possible, because if the Clippers don't have Blake, they don't go out and trade for Chris Paul. Paul's arrival in LA changed the entire landscape for the Clips franchise, as they now had an exciting duo moving forward. The Clippers finally had a roster ready to make a playoff push in the 2011-12 season. The season was shortened due to the expiration of the 2005 collective bargaining agreement, so it was only 66 games instead of the normal 82. During the season, the Clips became notable for a fast-paced offensive style that featured insane alley-oop dunks. This earned them the famous nickname Lob City, and it was truly a fitting name for such a team that featured Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan. Both Paul and Griffin were named All-Star starters for the 2012 season, and the Clippers qualified for the playoffs after they finished the regular season with a 40-26 record, granting them the 5th seed in a matchup with the Memphis Grizzlies in round 1. The Clips took a 3-1 lead in the series before losing back-to-back games and being forced to play a Game 7 on the road in Memphis. But the Clips ended up winning Game 7 and advanced to the second round against the 1-seeded San Antonio Spurs. Unfortunately, the Clippers' storybook season would come to an end here, as the Spurs would sweep them in 4 games and send them home for the summer. During the 2012 offseason, Blake Griffin agreed to a 5-year, $95 million contract extension with the Clippers that would keep him in LA until after the 2018 season. Entering the 2012-13 season, the Clippers were hungry to build off their success of the year prior, as Chris Paul entered the last year of his current contract. And once again, Blake and Paul were named All-Stars, and Chris Paul was named the 2013 All-Star Game MVP after a 20-point, 15-assist performance. DeAndre Jordan played the full 82 games for the first time in his career and led the league in field goal percentage as he shot 64.3%. And Blake Griffin had a down year statistically, but the Clips finished the 2013 season with a 56-26 record, which was the first time the franchise had ever won over 50 games and was the best season based on record as they beat their previous mark by 7 wins. Once again, the Clippers were set to be matched up against the Grizzlies, and this time Memphis was hungry for revenge. The Clips won the first 2 games of the series before losing 4 straight games to be sent into the offseason. This early exit caused management to go in a different direction with their head coach and not renew Vinny Del Negro's contract with the team. And in a surprising move, the Clippers sent the Boston Celtics their 2015 first-round pick for Doc Rivers to become the franchise's next head coach. But the next thing on the agenda for the offseason was to bring back Chris Paul. And on July 7th, 2013, Paul and the Clippers came to terms on a deal that would pay him $105.3 million for 5 seasons. Lob City was sent to enter the 2013-14 season with a brand new head coach to lead them as they continued their hunt for a Western Conference Finals appearance. And once again, the Clippers broke their franchise record for most wins in a season and finished the 2014 regular season with a 57-25 record, granting them the 3rd seed in the West entering the playoffs. And in the first round, the Clips defeated the Golden State Warriors in a tough series that went 7 games, and then they fell in the second round to the 2-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder 4-2. But this was not the worst part of the 2014 season for the Clippers franchise, as on April 25th, 2014, TMZ released a tape conversation of longtime owner Donald Sterling making various racist remarks. Sterling had a history of multiple accusations of racist behavior, and this confirmed that it was probably all true. This event would change the Clippers franchise forever, as on April 29th, the NBA issued a lifetime ban to Sterling, meaning he was no longer allowed to be anywhere or have anything to do with the Clippers or the NBA anymore. He was then fined the maximum allowed by the league, $2.5 million. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said in a press conference that he would try to force Sterling to sell the team and would appoint a CEO to run the Clippers like a business until a new owner is put in place. And on August 12, 2014, it was announced that former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer had bought the Los Angeles Clippers for $2 billion, which was 4 times the expected price that they thought they were going to get for it. And this officially marked a new era of the Clippers franchise and organization. With the Clippers officially in Ballmer's control, they entered the 2014-15 season still trying to get over the hump of making it past the second round, and finished the season with a 56-26 record, granting them the 3rd seed in the West entering the playoffs, where they were then set to be matched up against the defending NBA champions, the San Antonio Spurs. And this series went the distance, a full 7-game series, where the Clippers came out on top as Chris Paul hit a game-winning floater despite being hobbled by a hamstring injury. This set them up for a second-round matchup against James Harden and the Houston Rockets. And the Clips took a 3-1 series lead before then losing 3 straight games and allowing the Rockets to complete the comeback and advance to the Western Conference Finals, meaning that once again, the Clippers were going home in the second round in heartbreaking fashion, forcing them to try again in the 2015-16 season, where unfortunately Blake Griffin missed half the regular season due to both a hand injury and a partially torn quad. The Clips finished the season with a 53-29 record, giving them the 4th seed going into the playoffs, set to be matched up against the Portland Trail Blazers. And both Blake Griffin and Chris Paul went down with injuries during the series, and the Clips were defeated in 6 games, 4-2. Entering the 2016-17 season, the Clippers had a lot on the line, as both Blake Griffin and Chris Paul had player options at the end of the season, meaning that they could both walk in free agency. During the regular season, both Paul and Griffin missed 21 games each, and the Clips finished the season with a 51-31 record, making them the 4th seed and matching them up with the Utah Jazz. And Blake suffered a toe injury during Game 3 of the series, ending his season, and the Clips once again were eliminated in Round 1 after a loss in Game 7 at home at Staples Center. And entering the 2017 offseason, both Chris Paul and Blake Griffin did decline their player options, making them both unrestricted free agents. And on June 28, 2017, the Clippers completed a blockbuster move that sent Chris Paul to the Houston Rockets after he agreed to then opt back into that player option to complete the deal. The full trade includes Chris Paul to the Rockets with Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Sam Dekker, and a 2018 first-round pick being sent to the Clippers. And then just 2 days later, Blake Griffin and the Clippers agreed on a 5-year, $175 million max contract to keep him in LA. The Clips sold him on being a Clipper lifer and being the first player in franchise history to have his jersey retired and hung in the rafters. The new look Clippers entered the 2016-17 season with a completely different roster. They still had both their big men in Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. And then in one of the most surprising moves of all time, the Clippers suddenly traded Blake to the Detroit Pistons on January 28th, 2018. And in return, the Clips received Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, Boban Marjanovic, their 2018 first-round pick, and a 2019 second-round pick. Just months after convincing Blake to stay and selling him on playing for the Clippers until retirement, they traded him away, a move that many believed would haunt the Clippers for a long time and would prevent them from signing any big-name free agents anytime soon, as many questioned their loyalty from a business standpoint. Well, it was clear now that the Clippers were rebuilding, and the Blake Griffin era in Los Angeles was officially over, as he took the franchise from bottom tier to consistent championship hopefuls. It's just unfortunate that bad luck and injuries prevented them from achieving their overall goal. The Clippers finished the 2018 season with a 42-40 record and were once again back in the lottery. They held the 12th and 13th picks in the draft and traded for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 12 and drafted Jerome Robinson with 13, who is now pretty much out of the league. During free agency, the Clippers let DeAndre Jordan walk, and he joined the Dallas Mavericks, a team that he had been linked to for a few years. Entering the 2018-19 season, the rebuilding, or should I say retooling, Clippers weren't exactly expected to be a playoff team, but they stayed in that realm throughout the season. Tobias Harris was on the last year of his contract, and the Clips didn't exactly have much interest in paying him that summer. So on February 6th, 2019, they traded him, Boban, and Mike Scott to the Philadelphia 76ers for Landry Shamet, Wilson Chandler, Mike Muscala, their 2020 protected first-round pick, the Heat's 2021 first-round pick, and 2 Detroit Pistons future second-rounders. This move made it seem that the Clippers would once again be in the lottery in 2019, but they instead qualified for the playoffs as the 8th seed, to be matched up against the Golden State Warriors, and were expected to then be swept in 4 games. But the Clips managed to take the Warriors to, at the time, an unthinkable 6 games before eventually falling to lose the series. But in Game 2, they completed the biggest comeback in NBA playoff history, coming back from down 31 points to win the game and tie the series at the time 1-1. And they did all of this while starting 2 rookies in Shai and Shamet. Entering the 2019 offseason, the Clippers were all in on signing free agent Kawhi Leonard, who was coming off a championship run with the Toronto Raptors. Kawhi had made it clear that he wanted to play in Southern California, as he is from the San Diego area, and the Kawhi sweepstakes were down to just 3 teams, the LA Lakers, the LA Clippers, and returning to the Raptors. Many believe that Kawhi coming to the Clippers was a long shot, but in the most shocking fashion, Kawhi informed the Clips that he was coming to join the team, but they were going to be bringing another superstar alongside him. And shortly after Kawhi announced his intentions of being a Clipper, news broke that the franchise was going to be completing a blockbuster trade with the Oklahoma City Thunder for MVP finalist Paul George. The full trade details include PG-13 to LA for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 unprotected first-round picks, and 2 draft swaps. A blockbuster unlike anything we've ever seen before that has helped to set the standard for what it takes to get a superstar in the modern-day NBA. This trade immediately made the Clippers championship favorites entering the 2019-20 season, and it was championship or bust for the Clippers going forward. They were having a fantastic season before the season was put on a halt due to COVID-19, and the league did eventually start up again a few months later in a bubble-like environment in Walt Disney World. The Clips finished the 2019-20 season with a 49-23 record in the shortened season, which was the first time in franchise history that they've entered the playoffs as the 2 seed. They were matched up against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks in round 1, and won the series 4-2 to advance to the second round against the Denver Nuggets. And in this series, the Clippers took a 3-1 lead, before then losing 3 straight to be eliminated from the bubble in shocking fashion. This collapse is considered to be one of the biggest disappointments of all time, and the Clips were in desperate need to avenge themselves in 2020 and 2021. The Clippers were obviously set to run it back in 2021, and further solidify their intentions by signing Paul George to a 4-year, $190 million contract extension that locks him into the team until the earliest 2024. The Clips took on this underdog approach during the 2021 season and finished the 72-game season with a 47-25 record, making them the 4th seed and setting up a rematch with the Dallas Mavericks. The Clips quickly went down 2-0 in the series and battled back to make it 2-2, before then losing Game 5 and were forced to win back-to-back games to advance. And they did exactly that and won the series in 7 games, and the home team did not win a single game in the series until the Clips won Game 7, something that had never happened before in NBA history. The Clippers were then matched up against the 1-seed Utah Jazz in round 2, and once again quickly went down 2-0, before bouncing back to tie the series at 2 games apiece. But unfortunately for the Clips, Kawhi Leonard partially tore his ACL late in Game 4, and would eventually be ruled out for the rest of the playoffs. It seemed like once again injuries would be the reason that they would fail to reach the Western Conference Finals, but Paul George did something that no Clipper had ever yet to do. He put the team on his back and got them a win in Game 5 on the road, and a chance to close the series back at Staples. But the Jazz took a 25-point lead into halftime of Game 6, and it seemed like a Game 7 was on the horizon. But the 2021 comeback Clippers somehow did it again. They erased this massive deficit behind a 39-point performance by Terrence Mann, who had the game of his life on the biggest stage of his young career. And the Clips advanced to their first ever conference finals against former Clipper Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns. Unfortunately, the Clippers' magical storybook season would come to an end here, as they lost the series 4-2. But the 2021 Clippers made franchise history, and made it somewhere that no Clipper team had ever gone before. And that pretty much brings us to the current day, where the Clippers will continue their hunt for a title in 2022 and beyond. But let's not forget that this all started with Blake Griffin, who put this franchise on the map, because without him, neither Kawhi or Paul George would have wanted to be Clippers, and Blake paved the way for the franchise to be where it is right now. And he is the most important player in franchise history, as he helped to turn a team from one of the worst franchises in American professional sports history into a consistent championship contender. And this was the complete story as to how Blake Griffin saved the Clippers organization. Thanks so much for watching.